Hello class, and welcome to our third lecture in our deviance class, which will be about deviance as a social construct. So the purpose of this lecture is to help you guys establish what exactly a social construct is and how we can apply that to deviance. And I'm going to provide an example for this and we'll use that. So, to begin, what exactly is a social construct? Well, a social construct is something created by members of society that, for whatever reason, other members of society decided or were forced to go along with it. An example that I like to use when talking about this is gender reveals for unborn fetuses. So, what happens if they have a little balloon and they pop it and blue confetti falls out? It's a boy! And if it's pink confetti, it's a girl! But now think about if, whenever that was decided, what colors would represent which gender, that they decided that green would be the color associated with girls and purple would be the color associated with boys. So in that case, when the balloon pops and green confetti falls out, it's a girl. And if purple confetti falls out, it's a boy. And that sounds crazy, right? But if this were the case, and green was for a girl and purple was for a boy, then us talking about assigning different colors like blue to a boy and pink to a girl would sound ridiculous. And this is because things like gender and the representation of gender are socially constructed concepts. Ignore the change of scenery. So class, like I said before, I would bring up an example of deviance as a social construct. I assume all of you know who is on the screen in front of you. OMG, Taylor Swift. Yes, okay. So, some of you may not know that Miss Swift is a rampant user of her private jet. From carbonmarketwatch.org, Taylor Swift's private jet emitted an estimated 8,300 tons of carbon in 2022 alone. That is roughly 1,800 times that of the average human's annual carbon emissions. And that is a lot of pollution, a deviant amount, wouldn't you say? Now, in the example of Miss Swift emitting outrageous amounts of carbon with her private jet, how was she treated? Like a queen, yes. Would you all agree? I would definitely agree with Madison. She's treated like royalty within our society, regardless of her contribution to Earth's pollution. Now, how are they treated in the same instance of contributing to Earth's pollution? No, I don't mean these specific people. I just mean society members in general. These are just photos from the internet. But how are society members in general treated for the same thing? So, like, how are people treated when they sometimes use plastic straws or plastic grocery bags or for driving their car somewhere when they could have ridden their bike? They're made to feel guilty and like they are responsible for committing and hurting the earth so much and all the pollution that we have. And they're made to feel like they need to do more in order to help combat that. Now, this is really messed up for multiple reasons, but the main one being that inequalities of any kind are really messed up. So, like, why are we as regular old society members made to feel guilty and like we need to be doing so much to help save the planet when in reality, if just a chunk of really famous, really wealthy people stopped using their private jets or all their fancy things, that would easily add 100 years to Earth's lifespan. It's ridiculous. Change it up again. Alright, so now I quickly want to jump into conflict theory and give you guys a brief overview of what it is, and then I want you guys to try and apply conflict theory to the example I just gave you about Taylor Swift. So, conflict theory, simply put, is the idea that our society is operating in an eternal Hunger Games in a way. From our textbook, quote, conflict theorists envision the resources of the society as being distributed according to a zero-sum game. That is, they are of a fixed size, and whatever is distributed to one faction or category is taken away from another. End quote. That is, everyone's basically fighting for the necessary resources to survive at all times, and that is what causes people to commit acts of deviance. So, a way to conceptualize this a little bit easier is to think about it this way: the people with the resources, the rich and the powerful, commit acts of deviance in order to maintain those resources, their wealth or their power. While those without the resources, the poor and the powerless, commit acts of deviance in order to try and survive, basically. Okay, so now let's try and apply conflict theory to our example of Taylor Swift. And this is kind of a stretch. I probably could have picked a better example, but why not try and challenge ourselves? So, using conflict theory, why does Taylor Swift continue to commit the act of deviance of contributing 1,800 times the average person's yearly carbon emissions? Great job, Roger. I'm so happy that you guys actually connected that. All right, so she commits that act of deviance to maintain her wealth and status. She needs to get to so many places for tour shows, interviews, promotions in a short amount of time, very quickly, in order to keep up with her hype. And she needs to make her money by doing those things to maintain her wealth. Now, why do we as society members also commit the act of deviance of contributing to Earth's pollution, though at a much lower rate than some people? Taylor Swift. We do this out of necessity. We need to get to work, or we need to get to school in order to pay our bills or to keep a scholarship that we may have obtained. We need to get to these places on time so that we don't get fired and are then unable to pay our bills or buy food to feed ourselves or our families. And rather than it being to maintain a very large amount of wealth like Miss Swift or a very large amount of popularity like Miss Swift, regular old society members do it because we need to earn a paycheck, because we need to be able to pay bills, to continue living and to continue to have a roof over our heads and to continue to eat and have health insurance in case anything happens, all that good stuff. All right, kiddos, so that brings us to the end of our lecture on deviance as a social construct. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys all leave here remembering something very important, and that is that there's only one solution for Earth's pollution, and that is a bunch of billionaires stepping up and doing something about it. Okay, goodbye.